reproductive part comprises of the pistil. From here to here is called the pistil. There we have the stigma, we have the style, we have the ovary, and we have the ovule. So, this other one we have the petal, the sepal. Then we might not be really going deep into this other one because we are really want to talk about the what the sexual reproduction in plants. So during this fertilization or reproductive process, the first process of this is what we call pollination. In pollination, we have two types of pollination. We have cross pollination and what? Self pollination. Now, in the self pollination, the plant, the pollen grain of the same flower fertilize the same flower. For example, this kind of flower we are having here, the pollen grain has to touch. When she touch here, it fertilize. So today, in this video, we are going to be talking about sexual reproduction in plants. We have two types of reproduction in plants. Number one is what? Asexual, and the second one is sexual. But today we are talking about sexual reproduction in plants. Now, what is this sexual reproduction in plants? Sexual reproduction or sexual reproduction is the process whereby the male gametes or sex cell fuse together with the egg or the female gamete or female sex cell. Once they fuse together, they form what we call embryo or a zygote. So once this thing is done, it says what? Sexual reproduction. Now in asexual does not really need any kind of fission. It's just what happened like division. They divide. Somatic cells have to divide to produce what? Daughter cells. It's just more like cloning itself. And then one thing about sexual reproduction that makes it unique is that it encourages what? Genetic variation. That is, improve a kind of vigor, make the organism to be stronger, unlike where you have in asexual reproduction, what we have in asexual reproduction. So here, as we are here to talk about the sexual reproduction, one thing we should note here is that flower is the reproductive organ or sexual reproductive organ of a plant. That is the flower. This is because in flower we have the male and female gametes there, and there are in some flowers we have only the male, and then the female will be in another flower. So when we have the male, only the male only or the female only in a flower, we say those flowers are what? Incomplete flowers. They are incomplete because all the reproductive organs are not together. But when we have the male, both the male and female in one flower, we call it what? Complete flower. So now, what are we talking about? In the male reproductive organ or male reproductive part of the flower, we have the anther, filament, and stamen. Now, the anther is what is housing or where the pollen is what? Residing. The pollen grains or the pollen where they are residing. This is a major component where the sex cell, the male cell is residing, that really support the what? The fertilization. Now what happened in the process? Well, we'll talk about that later. But let's look at the female reproductive organ parts. The female reproductive part comprises of the pistil. From here to here is called the pistil. There we have the stigma, we have the style, we have the ovary, and we have the ovule. So this other one we have the petal, the sepal. Then we might not be really going deep into this other one because we are really want to talk about the what? The sexual reproduction in plants. So during this fertilization or reproductive process, the first process of this is what we call pollination. In pollination, we have two types of pollination. We have cross pollination and what? Self pollination. Now, in the self pollination, the plants, the pollen grain of the same flower fertilize the same flower. For example, this kind of flower we are having here, the pollen grain has to touch. When it touch here, it fertilizes it. When this thing happens, is what? Self pollinated. So when this pollen grain move from here to another plant and fertilizes the plant of another, um the same species or the same type of plant, then what happens is that we say is what? Cross pollinated. There are other agents that support, that promote this pollination, like insects. We have the other one that are more like wind that promotes them. All of them, they have their features, but then we might not be looking into that for now. So the when this thing happen, when the pollen grain, and then when the pollen touches the stigma, that is what we call what? Pollination. And that's the beginning of the what? Fertilization, the early stage of fertilization. Because once it happens there, the pollen, the pollen will develop a pollen tube. This pollen tube will eat into the style and locate the ovary, pass through the ovary to touch the ovary, and then where it fertilizes the egg. The ovary is the egg itself, where it fertilizes. This is when we say fertilization has taken place. So fertilization simply means the fusion of the male and female organ to form a zygote, embryo, or seed, as the case may be. So once that thing happens, we say it's what? um Fertilization has taken place. now Now, the next thing, once this fertilization has taken place, what next will happen? There will be uh, development. The ovary will develop into what? Into the fruit, while the ovaries or the egg, the ovaries will develop into the what? Seeds. So this is where the once this thing happens, the new generation will be ready to be formed from the seed. So this is where we're going to end our class for today. But then, if you're joining us for the first time, um, we want you to subscribe, and then you leave your comments. And most importantly, I would like to know where you're joining us from. Just comment your country, and then I will I will share you up. All right, thank you so much. Remember to share and like. Thank you. This one is fast.